Hey, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I created a beer commercial using this fish tank. Okay, so now let me introduce you to the start of this commercial, and that is the Sorry UMAMI IPA, and it's brewed with bonito flakes, which is basically a fish. And so you may be thinking, okay, so that sounds a little gross, right? Does it smell or does it taste fishy? And the Yoho Brewing Company in Japan, they 100% guarantee that no, it does not taste or smell fishy at all. It's just a very non-traditional way that they wanted to create a beer. So the reason why I chose this beer is because it just looked cool. Well, first and foremost, because I like Japan. I've been to Japan. I want to go back to Japan. And so I like the culture and everything that has to do with it. So it just caught my attention right away because it just looked different. I mean, it's colorful. It has the Japanese guy in the front. It has the kanji alphabet. I like the contrast, and I figure that against the blue background of the aquarium there, it's just gonna contrast really nicely. Therefore, I'm gonna just go ahead and try to shoot a cool little commercial with it, and I will show you the final result later. Okay, so let me give you a quick rundown of the camera that I'm going to be using and the lenses to shoot these scenes. So first and foremost, I have a Sony CVE10. I'm going to be using that particular camera because it shoots at 120 frames per second. And the reason for that is because when I begin shooting the scenes of the beer can dropping inside the water, I want to be able to slow down the footage in post so that you have that slow motion cinematic look. I'm going to be doing some close-ups, so I'm using an actual adapter because I mainly shoot with Canon cameras, but I'm going to be using a Canon macro lens, which is the 100mm macro, and I'm using it with the Sony camera with an adapter so that I can capture those close-ups. So that's one set of videos or one set of shots that I'm doing. The other set of shots, I want to get a sort of a wider angle, so I'm going to be switching over to my 50mm lens. Also going to be using it with the Sony camera using the adapter. That is the camera setup that I'm using for today. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot some scenes with this. Obviously it's going to take several tries, but I'm not going to bore you with the rest until I am done. Okay, so I have gone ahead and finished shooting the scenes with 100mm macro, so all the close-up shots are pretty much done. Now I went ahead and switched over to the 50mm so that now I can have a wider view of the front of the aquarium. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera so that I don't bore you with all these tries. So as you can see, I went ahead and got rid of the fish tank. All the scenes that I needed of the can falling inside the water, they're pretty much done. I got a variety of them, so I have plenty. Because obviously this is going to be like a spec commercial. So it's only a few seconds, maybe about 15 seconds long, maybe 20. But I think I'm going to make it about 15 seconds long. So it's a pretty quick, dynamic commercial. I'm going to be shooting some scenes with the can the way that it is. Then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pretty much spritz the whole can. What I've done here, just so you know, this is a mixture of water and glycerin. And the reason for the glycerin is because once the droplets fall into the can, they tend to bead better, and also it tends to not make the water run. It just kind of clings to the can, so it gives it that really cold, very frothy look. So I'm going to be shooting some scenes of that too, and also just to have the background by itself, just in case I need to make some overlays or whatever the case may be. I'm going to also have some shots of the background with nothing in it. So I'm going to start with, basically right now I can see that there's some dust on the plexiglass. I have the black paper right here so that it makes it smoother, and actually it helps the reflection. So I have the plexiglass, and obviously you can't see it from this angle, but what happens is the plexiglass is kind of overhanging, but it's kind of taking the color that is reflecting off of the background, is reflecting towards the plexiglass, so it kind of it's giving it this really smooth transition. So it makes it really nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shoot the can all by itself, just to get started. So I'm cleaning the surface here just to make sure that there is no lint or dust that I don't want to appear on the video itself. So just make sure you give it a quick clean up, just to be safe. Okay, so I did 20 seconds of that. I'm gonna go ahead and move in closer to the can. Since I'm shooting with the 100mm macro, I'm gonna get really nice and close to the can itself. Okay, so in the last scenes that I shot, I didn't quite get the result that I wanted. I wanted a more dramatic overflow of the beer over the sides of the can. It didn't quite produce that. I tried shaking the cans vigorously for a while, but it just didn't build up enough pressure for it to do. I don't know if it has to do with, you know, the amount of carbonation or the chemical composition of the contents and stuff. So it just didn't quite give me the effervescence that I wanted. I tried with some other type of beers, and it didn't give me quite the result that I wanted. One of the things that I ended up finding out is, or figuring out, is basically kind of put my chemistry hat on, and I was experimenting with apple cider vinegar, since it seems to have obviously the same kind of color as the beer itself, and then with some baking soda. And obviously when you put those two together, it makes a reaction, and so it starts overflowing. So I think I figured it out. I was trying that with some other beers and it worked. I'm gonna open the can, pour the contents in a glass, just so I can have that shot. And then with whatever I have remaining of the beer, I'm gonna fill it up with some apple cider vinegar and pour some baking soda in it so that we can have that final shot. So I think I got it now, so we're gonna go ahead and try to get it done. I'm going to add the apple cider vinegar into the can. I'm going to grab a teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm going to pour it inside the beer so it makes a chemical reaction. All right, and that does it. By the way, this is a very good beer and it does not taste fishy at all. That's the reason why I did the glass pouring first, so that I can get most of the beer out, so that I can actually try it before I put all the vinegar in the can. Pretty good. You should try it.